Hi there, I'm Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor, and this is your one-stop shop for all things crypto. This is Coffee and Crypto. We sip some coffee and we talk tons of crypto. Alright, so what do we have for you this week? The big crypto headline that everybody's talking about. The Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance is to hold now a closed-door meeting with the top stakeholders of the cryptocurrency industry as well. All this is happening right now this Friday. A lot of anticipation about what exactly this meeting will be about, who will participate. This is the first official meet after all where parliamentarians will get to have face time with the crypto industry. All about that when I get to the coffee table. So what's happening in this meeting? Everybody's talking about it. Now the committee, the Finance Committee, which is led by Lok Sabha member and former Union Minister of Finance Jayant Sinha, has invited India's top crypto exchanges. These are members of the Blockchain and Crypto Assets Council, the BACC. We'll have somebody from that joining us on the program shortly. There'll be analysts as well. There will be members from various crypto exchanges as well. Now, what makes this meeting so crucial is that this is the first time the committee has invited stakeholders to discuss the industry in what can be called officially, this is happening the first time. Now, even as the industry has aggressively engaged in back-channel conversations with the government over the past year, the committee now this time has reached out to top crypto exchanges with a set of questions. Now, this is right ahead of that Monday meeting. It has asked about the potential of the crypto industry to contribute to India's digital ambition. Another core point of discussion will be crypto's impact on the stability of Indian rupee. Exchanges have also been asked about their trading volumes, etc. I see a lot of interest gathering over there. Now, the members will be the meeting, in fact, all of that will be held in the Parliament building itself. And this, remember, is right ahead of the winter session. Very crucial timing over there. The agenda officially defined is that hearing of views of the association, industry experts on the subject of crypto finance as well. And it says opportunities and challenges. So both things will be discussed. This is a big moment for the crypto industry. And we have some very fine minds to discuss what's going to happen next. So first up, joining us on CC this week is Naveen Surya. He's the advisory board member, BACC, Blockchain and Crypto Assets Council. Hi Naveen, welcome to CC. Firstly, it's a big week and a lot of work has already gone into between BACC and the government on issues of regulation, etc. First, give us and our viewers an insight into where exactly is the conversation that it stands as of this moment and what exactly is it that BACC is doing?
So, Blockchain and the Crypto Asset Council is the industry body of crypto ecosystem. Of course, currently most members are crypto exchanges, which are currently probably the thriving community. Of course, the other ecosystem like NFT and other enablers are also gradually developing. So it is part of the overall framework of Internet and Mobile Association of India, which is probably the only and the leading, you could say, industry association, which looks into every digital aspects of the country and as well as right from e-commerce to, you could say, media to OTTs to also two independent platforms like Payments Council of India, also FinTech Convergence Council, and now BACC. So it's our attempt to bring together these nascent industry players, bring them together to understand the core issues of that industry. Also, a lot of these areas are heavily regulated globally or likely to be regulated. So we also like to work with them together closely early days so that the transition from an unorganized to unorganized territory or let's say unregulated to regulated territory becomes slightly simpler. And let's say whatever is expected from the regulators can be preponed in the industry and let's say by the industry players by following the best practices. So those has been our attempt. I think most of the large players are already the member. They continuously meet. They create, let's say, awareness program, awareness campaigns. They work on some specific issues. Recently, there has been some concerns around various advertisements that talk about crypto to the consumers, but no clear disclaimers as to what are the precautions for customer protection that you need to put out. So again, we work with the industry on that. There's a code of conduct, which is version 1. There is a lot more getting, let's say, in the works, which will be more like a self-regulation. It's the regulatory. But in the interim, you can't wait. The risks are every day. So whatever our members can follow as the best practice, we're trying to put that together. And obviously continuous discussions and dialogues with all the stakeholders.
I see. So a lot of work has already gone and interesting times ahead as well. But what would you say is the key agenda right now when it comes to regulation as well? And more importantly, what sort of regulation are we looking at?
Well, that's something which always works, right? So even if you look at most regulated spaces, the self-regulation always remains a parallel process because again, in an evolving and a dynamic industry, which our most digital businesses are, self-regulation always becomes an important component so that the discipline remains. So, and as I said, in the absence of regulation, that's only regulation, right? So we anyway try. So that remains, that's going to be remaining a piece, whether pre or a post regulation forward. I think the regulator will work closely with them.
Right. I just also want to understand from you, from RBI's ban in 2018 to now, when finally there is consultation taking place. India also has a digital currency now that is in the works. What a journey, right? Now, in conclusion, I want to get from you, what do you think the future holds as of this moment when it comes to blockchain and crypto?
Well, I think a couple of years back, the development was that the government had proposed a draft bill to ban the private cryptos and allow CBDC. And that's about 3-year-old progress. Obviously, since then, the country has moved a lot in a different direction. Growth has been good. The developments are beyond just the exchange. Now you have NFT, which is very thriving community. You have a lot of interesting developments around CBDC across the globe, including India, where the regulators themselves are looking at rolling out our own digital currency. So our belief is, like internet, the crypto kind of a, let's say, subject will not just be limited to 1 or 2 areas just of the finance, but will start becoming all pervasive like internet is today. It will be part of our daily routine in a world with a lot of services that we consume, be it identity services, be it, let's say, various work that we do with the governments in terms of our identity documents, in terms of even, let's say, property registration. So the use cases are tremendous, and I think as they come together, the ecosystem will look a lot different after 10 years. So in a way, it's a interesting space. Is just the start. I think a lot needs to be done, and what you're seeing is just the initial excitement with probably the markets being all-time high, which is not just for the crypto but for the stock market, Indian markets in particular. So that excitement is always there. But as I said, these are not really the events. These are smaller, you could say, milestones towards a bigger goal. These are only to test pilot these concepts, test the scale, test the possibilities, but they are not the destination.
All right, Naveen, thanks so much for that insight and good luck as well. Having understood that, let's also break it open to our experts now joining us on CC. We have Rajesh with us. He's the head for blockchain competency tech Mahindra. And also we have with us Anirudh Rastogi. He's the founder for Ikigai Law. I'm very interested in having this conversation from a legal aspect and from a tech aspect while we look at this big blockbuster Monday coming our way. Hi and welcome to CC. If I can take the first question to Anirudh over there. You know, the Indian government has been sitting on a crypto regulation bill for over a year now, as we know. Now, meanwhile, since the Supreme Court lifted the ban as well, 2-year, banking ban as well, crypto, since it's been since March 2020, investments in crypto has really soared. And we are now at a situation where finally there is going to be some dialogue. Share with us the initial understanding of what will be the immediate steps that follow.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you very much. So firstly, of course, any attempt at consultation with the industry and experts is welcome. And this is something as the industry we've been literally asking for the last many years, including, in fact, if I could share anecdotally, during the Supreme Court hearings where we were, lucky to be representing the exchanges and the wider industry before the Supreme Court. At some point, the Supreme Court literally, pulled up the RBI for not paying heed to the many representations that were already made to the bank. And, so the desire for consultations is something that has been articulated by the industry, by the court. And despite that, that has not happened since up until now. So a very welcome change. I think, also while it's the Finance Committee, which is going to be looking at this issue, I think we need to also look at cryptocurrency and blockchain from a technological lens and think of regulation of cryptocurrencies from that perspective as well. It is not just about payments. I think the cryptocurrency is a misnomer and gets confused with being a currency. There are many applications of cryptocurrencies that are not widely understood sometimes by the government. And exactly that reason why you need to consult with people who are pretty much entrenched.
And different forms in which government is also engaged. And if you see blockchain used by so many governments now to solve different problems in different ways, from certificates to vaccinations, etc. So there is really aspects of blockchain and crypto that the government is looking at positively, at least. But let me take the next question to Rajesh. Just last week, the industry had taken out a big ad calling out to the government to provide regulatory guidance. They also highlighted tens of millions of Indians really who've invested, just to quote that figure again to our viewers, $80 billion. That's about 6 trillion INR in crypto, right? That's according to that ad that we all saw. This backdoor conversation has been happening for a while. How big is this meeting going to be, according to you?
Yeah, this is going to be the most defining moment in the history of the cryptocurrency in India, because the first time the various constituents of the industry are going to come together, from the lawmakers to people in the industry, people who are providing services, the experts and analysts and investors. For a long time, the regulatory climate has been very silent. If you look at some of the countries, they've taken a firm view. It's either banned or allowed. But with respect to India, the regulatory climate has been a little bit silent. So now it's, as I said, it's going to be a defining moment, because things will come out very easily. And a lot of gray areas that are there with regards to investment. For example, there's a common misconception that holding cryptocurrency is illegal. No, it isn't. It isn't illegal. And if I make good amount of money in cryptocurrency trade, how do I treat those profits? Do I apply short-term capital gain, long-term capital gain? It is not very clear. In what income tax bracket should these be taxed? Are they called as the digital assets, or they are tokens? Are they coins? It's not going to be a legal tender for sure, but it is going to be either a digital asset or under the category of token. So what is the tax rate that will be applicable? And for instance, even trading on exchanges, if I take an analogy with regards to the stock markets, when you buy stocks, you pay, in addition to the brokerage fee, you also pay tax, right? It could be a security tax, or it could be a service tax. Those categories are also very silent at this point of time. So all these aspects are going to come up in this particular meeting.
Right. So Anirudh, can you shed more light on then what exactly is the framework, the broad framework that we are talking about? Are we looking at different types of crypto assets being created and then different heads, etc.?
I think it is. Well, there is a little lack of clarity yet, and I think it's still, the government still has to make up its mind on how it wants to regulate, and that's where these consultations are very helpful. But broadly speaking, these are some challenging questions, right? How do you actually categorize cryptocurrencies? You regulate them as an asset, you regulate them as securities, you regulate them as something, something quite different, and create a new class, a new category to regulate these. And it is best, given the nature of this technology, which is also evolving very rapidly, that we, as Naveen Surya was also commenting, it is important to have a self-regulatory framework, which can work closely with a regulatory, overarching regulatory supervision, but a self-regulatory framework which can be nimble and which can evolve as the technology and the industry are evolving.
Right. I'm running out of time, but I quickly want to give in the last word to Rajesh as well on this categories and the broad framework that we're looking at.
Sorry, say that again. I didn't catch
Rajesh,
that.
your thoughts on what exactly should be the framework when you look at the categories in which crypto, whether it's taxation, etc. What exactly should be the framework there?
Oh, okay. So from a framework perspective, it should look at different aspects within the digital currencies. For instance, if you look at the application of digital currencies and application of these tokens, you have various categories, right? You have social tokens, you have utility tokens, you have tokens which are collectibles, then you have tokens which are being used for online storage. And there are tokens which are being used for decentralized finance. So the regulatory framework should be looking at all these aspects, and in terms of what are the various tax rates that would be applicable to the users. And also the regulation framework should also look into the protection aspects. For instance, I invest in, let's say, a centralized exchange.
Very important.
And I have a holding. And then what happens if the centralized exchange goes down? So if I draw another analogy with regards to the bank deposits, they are secured to a certain extent, and there is a very, very clear regulatory framework around it. Likewise, a similar regulatory framework can be extended when it comes to holding of these cryptocurrencies by those centralized exchanges.
Right.
So some of those aspects they definitely need to look at.
Well, safe to say we won't be getting any answers at the end of the meeting perhaps, but the conversation is begun. I think that's the big takeaway. And then let's see where we move forward in this journey. Thank you both for joining us on CC this week. That's all the time we have in this segment. We're going to slip into a break. But coming up on the other side, Big B's NFT has broken all records. All of you want to know who bought it for how much. We'll tell you on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We are now going to talk about Big B's NFT, which has broken all records. It sold for a whopping 7.18 crore. The maximum bids actually went for Madhushala as well, but there was that's the poetry that Big B has recited, and there was a loot box, collectibles, tons of them. And who better to talk about all this than Ramkumar Subramaniam himself, CEO and co-founder for Guardian Link. Hello. And firstly, congratulations. It was, as they say, Shehenshah launch, to say the least. Did it meet up to your expectations?
More than that, it was very overwhelming. We didn't expect this kind of a response. It was very overwhelming. And we wanted to launch it big in India, and we wanted it to be the biggest NFT launch in India. But it was much more than that. It was very overwhelming.
Right. But, you know, the question really everybody wants to know is what goes behind these crazy valuations? And what exactly, just explain to us simply, what goes behind these internal evaluation on how much an NFT is worth?
I guess it is more of the history and the provenance of that particular NFT and who created that and what it implies and what's the significance of that particular NFT. All of that matters. And there is always this X factor which gives a price. And in this particular case, it is Mr. Bachchan and the history of his career and his poems of his father that he recited, and also the artifacts that we created for him. And each of the artifacts was various roles of his movies, and each one has its own uniqueness to it. And the original posters, obviously, everyone loves posters, and it had its own significance. And the loot box was a mixture of all of these together. And I guess that was the the show winner, because everyone wanted to go ahead and buy that because that had the collection of the ones which are in the auction.
Yeah.
So
it's the surprise
so
that
loot
nobody
was the surprise.
Sort of figure it out, etc. But listen, I want to ask you, so we've got NFTs of film stars, now cricketers also, talking about NFTs and various collectibles. If you were to give one advice to people to, as they say, an Aam Aadmi or a common man starting their own NFT, what would that be? Where is the space for those people and how should they approach it?
I see this very similar to how YouTube and Instagram was for influencers. I see that happening for NFTs as well. It would definitely get there, where individual artists or any common man would like to go ahead and create their own versions of NFTs. And it would definitely evolve there. And it has moved away from being a hype and being just a speculation to more of a utility and an aspect to it. So that's where NFTs are moving towards. So a common man with whatever he wants to do, whether being an art or a utility out of that, can get into this later on. So I see that happening in the near future.
All right, so that's going to be good news there. I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to that. Thanks so much for joining us on CC this week. All right, that's all we could pack in this week's episode. There is a lot happening in the space as we speak. And there is a lot to really tap onto, especially in the coming week. You know who will be doing that and where to catch all of that information. Until next time, it's bye from me.